Great, we're looking at Chapter 7, Lesson 9. This is our last day of new material before we go into either AIMNet prep or PARCC prep. This day we'll be graphing the relationship between patterns, so a combination of 5G1, 5G2, and 5OA2. We're looking at example 1. What we want students to get in the habit of right away, like what showing work looks like for these items, is actually creating a table of X and Y values. So pattern X starts at 0, and then we add 3 each time. So we can say plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. Pattern Y starts at 2, and then we add 1 each time. These now become our coordinate pairs, right? And so now we want to write these as ordered pairs over here, 0, 2, 3, 3, 6, 4, and 9, 5. Those ordered pairs match with graph B, okay? Make sure, like, graph A is a distractor. Those are all of these ordered pairs inverse. Like, the Y value would become the X value would become the Y value. Example 2. Here, again, we want to identify, like, we're going from a graph into a table. So what are the coordinates for A? The coordinates for point A are 1, 1. What are the coordinates for B? 3, 2, 5, 3, and 7, 4. Now we're looking for the next 2 ordered pairs in this pattern. So we're going to look at all of the X values, and then we'll look at the pattern between all the Y values. So the X values, in the X terms, I have 1, 3, 5, 7. I can see that I'm increasing by 2 each time. So we actually want to write plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. So 7 plus 2 is 9, and 9 plus 2 is 11. And then the Y values, I can see that the Y values are increasing by 1 each time. Each term is 1 greater than the previous term, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. So our next 2 ordered pairs will be 9, 5 and 11, 6. We can even sketch them here. The 11, 6 ordered pair would go off this graph, but we can see that this ordered pair follows the same pattern. The X values increase by 2 each time, and the Y values increase by 1. Example 3, again similar, only now we're putting this into a real world context. How tall will the plant be on the 8th day? So we can read both axes, both the titles on the x-axis and the y-axis. We can see that days are along the x-axis. Here I'm writing our x values, 1, 2, 3, 4. I now know I have to go all the way up to 8 days. And I can see that each term in the X pattern is increasing by 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. The height, the scale is a little bit different, right? Like, that's why we included some of that work at the very end of graphing, where our scales on our x-axis and our y-axis are different. That's fine. We can still recognize that this is the point 1, 4, right? And so, like, here, our y values, 4, 8, 12, 16, I can see that those are increasing by 4 each time. So we're going to continue that pattern, and I can see on the 8th day the plant will be 32 centimeters tall. I notice that the Y values always increase by 1, the X values always increase by 4 centimeters. I continued listing ordered pairs in the pattern. I also noticed, and this is something else that kids might notice, I noticed that the Y value was always 4 times what the X value was. 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16. That's a good way to check, right? Like, I can see that this times 4 is 32, so we actually see this pattern 2 different ways. And then this is asking, like, do we understand what this graph is representing? What does the point 520 mean on this graph? That means after 5 days, the plant will be 20 centimeters tall. This is kind of an extension, but this is also, like, making sense of what this is telling us, right? We can't really answer this question here about the 8th day unless we're understanding, like, what this graph, the x-axis and the y-axis mean. Finally, let's look at this one. This one is, again, like a combination of we're doing something to some terms, right? So, like, in this one, the large container is 3 times the weight and twice the price of the small container. So this is like we're extending that pattern, right? 3 times the weight. If I recognize the 3 here along the x-axis, that's my 3. The 3 value is the x-axis, it's the weight. 3 times the weight would give me 9 pounds. That's 9 lb. And the cost is twice the price of the small container. Here the price was 5, right? Price is along my y-axis, and I can see that it was 5. Twice the cost would be $10. So my new coordinate for the large container is 9, 10. And then it asks us to plot the points for both the small container and the large container. And so we want to label that as 3-5 small container and 9-10 large container.